while this podcast platform typically explores the spiritual biographies of practitioners in Myanmar, along with delving into the different meditation traditions there, we have somewhat shifted our focus to respond to this current crisis. While we will definitely continue to interview guests who can share Buddhist perspectives and impart wisdom at this time of need, we will be expanding our work to talk with a wider range of speakers who can add to the breadth and depth of our coverage, so that listeners can better understand the nature of the current crisis. And if there are additional topics or guests that you would like to suggest, please do so by writing us at info@insightmyanmar.org. With that, let's get on to our show. I'm really pleased to be joined here by Darko of the indie band Side Effect, and we're expecting to have a wide-ranging conversation about everything his, in his own words, non-traditional life has touched upon, his relationship with Buddhism, his activism, of course, his band and his music, eye-opening experience with the Rohingya. All of that is to come. And before we get into everywhere where his life has developed, let's learn a little bit about where it started. So, Darko, thanks so much for joining us, for being on here, and take us back to where it all began. Tell us about your early years.
Yeah, hi. I'm glad that I was invited to join this podcast. And yeah, I've been a big fan of Inside Myanmar quite a while, and I've been listening to some of your podcasts, and now I'm here to talk with you. And I like to share, whatever it's worthy to hear about my life and my experiences. So yeah, where should we start?
Yeah, so tell us where it all began. Tell us where you're from, a little about your family, your upbringing.
Yeah, I'm from Myanmar. I was born in Yangon in 1981. So now I'm 40 years old. I have a family. I have a wife and a 7-year-old son. Okay, I formed my band, Side Effect, back in 2004. So yeah, I formed the band Side Effect back in 2004 when I was a student at the University of Foreign Languages. Since then, we've been playing, and we were a bit lucky, and we got to get out of the country, and we played in great festivals such as like South by Southwest, and we played in Germany, we played in Denmark, and we played in Malaysia, we played in Indonesia, in Thailand, India, and the United States. Yeah, we are still playing, but right now, because of the coup, everything stops and everything is falling apart. But before the coup, it was because of the COVID. We didn't get to play anything. Everything stopped. It was earlier this year, in January 2021, we released our latest single called Iseba. And since then, we could not do much. And in February 1st, on 1st of February, there was a stupid coup happened, and now the whole country is upside down.
So Eseba, that means like take it easy. So what was the song about?
Yeah, it was the point. Actually, it was quite interesting. The song direct meaning is about 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 a journey. And like where we are, actually where I was at the time, where I was, the direct meaning of the song is about a journey or a trip, and then you get to somewhere that you have no idea about, like whether it was the end of the road or whether it was the end of the trip, but you enjoyed so much. It is great to be there, and you are enjoying where you are at that moment in your life. So it was also a reflection of my experience in meditation. I began to meditate in 2016, to be exact. And before then, I was on and off. But then I was like devoted to meditation in 2016, and since then I've been meditating every day, every morning. So during COVID, I was also like meditating heavily because that was the best thing that I could do, because I was also, I was one of those who were suffering from depression. Like it was a global depression, and I was one of many people who were going through it. So I got to a point where I didn't know where I would survive, or where I would leave this world, but still and then during meditation I got to a place, I got to a place where I feel so good. And I don't know whether it was the goal of the meditation, or whether you know what I mean. I don't know where I am, but I definitely enjoyed that place in my head, or I'm not sure if it's even in my mind or head, or if there was no mind at all. But I feel oneness at that moment, and I was like, yeah, this is okay here, Iseva. So I can live with that. I can live with that forever, or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to ask for more.
Right. So that Eseba was kind of like an expression of how you felt at the end of a meditation sitting. Is that right?
Yeah. So, I use that metaphor as a like very positive vibe to bring it to the world. If there's a metaphor was like, if your life is a journey, if you are like and it was kind of like giving you the happiness being alone, going alone in the journey, because we were so afraid to be alone all the time. And at some point, there's joy and joy in it. If you can enjoy the journey of being alone. And if you can really, enjoy life, there's where happiness is. I mean, from my perspective, it's really, really hard, for everyone to go through this like COVID madness alone. But still, I mean, there's some, I don't know, there must be important part of life that the universe is teaching us, So I don't know. So, whether the road ends or whether, where you are or where you are lost, maybe you feel lost. But if you can look around and there are many things to enjoy the moment, enjoy the now. And then that's the vibe of the song, actually, it's, yeah, I didn't want to spread more negativity around because of my depression. And it was like kind of at the end of my depression. And I got it like kind of like, positive mindset at the end of the day. So it was about that song.
Yeah, that sounds great. So let's take a listen to that Eseba now. Yeah, right. That was great. Thanks. So you mentioned how this song came out of your meditative state and the value that you were finding in meditation and spending time with practice. So did you come from a Buddhist family? Was this something that was shown to you as valuable in your early years through your parents and other family members?
Not really. The Buddhism that I grew up with is more about, very much like Burmese Buddhism is focused more on morality and all these practices of doing the good things. It's more focused on the good and the bad. It's very, very much like, Burmese Buddhism is focused on very much on morality and all these doing the good for your future and everything that Buddha said that like kind of more like following the rules.
So you mean like Kuthul and Akuthul, kind of like that?
Yes, definitely. Kuthul and Akuthul. So, when your whole life you'll be debating whether it's good and bad all the time. And yeah, I mean, doing the good thing is actually, you are just like doing what Buddha said, and then you be the good person. When you are the good person, you see bad people as evil or terrible human beings, and that's the whole thing. So that's where I grew up with, and I have a very strange relationship with Buddhism. Because I was really into punk rock, and punk rock doesn't align with any religion,
Mm-hmm. Right. Especially organized religion. Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of there's a lot of hidden things under Burmese Buddhism. I don't want to talk too much bad things about Burmese Buddhism right now at the moment, because every religion has their dark side, I would say, because it's not about the religion. It's about the people who practice it and who use it as they want, or who use it wrongly or rightly. I don't know. It's because of the human beings.
Sure.
But I had a very special moment back in 2015 when I got to Rakhine State, northern Rakhine State, and I got to a town called Budidang with the project called Voice of the Youth. Actually, I was there for the first time with the project called Rhythm and Peace. It was 1 year after I joined Turning Tables Myanmar, and I'm the leader of Turning Tables Myanmar. Now I'm the director. Back then I joined as the coordinator. We were a very small team, and it was the first time that I saw Rohingya people. And before that, I was also one of the Burmese people who believed these Rohingya are I also believe that Rohingyas were the others, not one of us or something like that. So I was open. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. I wanted to know what was happening, because it was like 2 years after the conflict there. 2 or 3 years after conflict there. So I was very curious to go there. I was scared too. But then when I got there and I saw the reality, and I was very, very angry. I was very angry with the media, actually local media, who thought they stood for Myanmar people or Burmese people or whatever that they believe in. They took side.
And what did you see there?
The first thing that I saw is it was a town. So, there were people are people. People are people, meaning when I saw these Muslim people, I was not sure whether it was Rohingya or just Muslim in the Rakhine State, as other people said. Actually, the whole Rohingya, the whole Budidang town was actually majority of people are Rohingya people there. So I didn't know that. I thought Rohingya people were the people who stay inside the camp. Who was trying to get inside the country. That was my knowledge before I went there. Back then it was very confusing, because of there was a resistance towards Western media, and also there was it was. That was the thing back then, not many people knew what was actually happening on the ground. But it changed my life, and it changed my, perceptions,
Was there anything in particular you saw that really stood out in your mind, that really opened you up? Because it seems like this was really a life-changing, profound experience. And you mentioned that one of the things that caught you is you couldn't believe they were living there. They weren't trying to get in or in camps, but they were actually living in homes and in a village that was somewhat permanent. So aside from this, was there anything else that really stands in your memory from that visit in that time?
Yeah, so one positive sign was, by the river, there was a guy, Muslim guy, and Rakhine guy. Rakhine guy, they are also kind of, maybe it could be a Rakhine Buddhist guy. I think almost all Rohingyas are Muslims. And yeah, there were two friends, you know, they were like kind of shoulder to shoulder. I don't know. They were playing like brothers, and because of maybe they, maybe they were close friends, and I did not believe my eyes to see that. That was a very positive sign, but that was a rare thing to see. So that's I saw the humanity, humanity, the reality. It's different from what is saying online and in the news. That's like positive part and a very rare thing to see. And the other part is like kind of when I saw some like documents like household registrations, and then there was a correction before it must have been like before they were recognized as Rohingya, written in Burmese in their household registrations, and then maybe at some point there was a correction from the immigrations. There was a cross line, and then they fixed with a new name, Bengali.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you mentioned that everything you saw was really in contrast to what you'd been hearing about on local media. For those listeners who are not Burmese and don't exactly know how local Burmese media was reporting at the time, what had you been reading about from local sources before you went, and in what ways was your experience different from those impressions from news reports?
As far as I recall, at the time, all the local medias were saying was like there was no ethnic group called Rohingya in Myanmar, and they all were Bengalis, like trying to get into Myanmar from Bangladesh. That was mainly a thing. And even though they said like they've been in Myanmar for many years, but like all these like Myanmar people or Rakhine people do not acknowledge them as part of Myanmar society.
Mm-hmm.
And they have been like a kind of like very like what should I say, vicious, like rape some Rakhine women whenever they got a chance, or they've been like kind of very dangerous to Rakhine society. That was the main narrative, like they were, because like like situations in Bangladesh were really bad, and like Myanmar has more lands and stuff like that. So it was more like like these people were trying to steal our lands and our territory, or like trying to be trying to be acknowledged as like one of Myanmar ethnicities to demand their territory, and to take a big part of to get a piece of Myanmar. That was the main narrative back then, as far as I can recall.
Right. And your experience of being there showed you something very different from the impression that you had.
Yes, very much different. And also, I had to, I don't know, it was very quite weird moment. And I felt really, really sorry to see them, because like after, a few weeks, and then after I talk with a few Rohingya people, they were quite scared to talk with strangers back then too. I met a girl who just like finished high school with like flying marks, and she could have been a doctor, and she could have gone to medical school, medical university of medicine or something, if she was not a Rohingya girl. Just because she was a Muslim girl, she could not go to the university, and she was quite heartbroken, and her father was also heartbroken too. But they knew it already. They kind of accepted it as a reality, their reality, and it really broke my heart. And then she knew that like she would have to marry it was kind of like, maybe a part of the Muslim tradition too. But also, if she could you go to the university and become a doctor, I mean, her father would be very happy. And of course, like she would not have to marry at a young age, But now she's married, of course, like it was a long time ago. It was back in 2015, and like I don't know, they are, she was not the only one. There were many, like very what do you call it, talented people, or there are many young people who suffer from this, like for generations. And I did not know that, and I was also angry at myself too. Like, how could I not know? I don't know. How could I believe all this, like, mainstream media's narrative and everything?
Why do you think you did believe that?
Because that was all I could get access to. For example, information. Like how could I find where could I find any information that Rohingya people are like this and that? But it came, like, most of this, like this kind of information came from the outside. Outside means the like Western media, But inside Myanmar, there was no information. Like there was no information about like the reality.
And did you look on outside sources? Like you speak English, you've traveled the world, you have international friends, you know about international media organizations, Western media organizations. Did you, before going there and learning one story from the local media, did you take any time to look at and read different stories from the international media?
Yeah, of course. Before then, no, I would say I was not interested in those subjects. Because at first, frankly speaking, at first I thought, it was the conflict between this, like, religious conflict, because, I was not into religion at all. Mm-hmm. So I hated religions, to be honest, frankly speaking. So, whenever it comes to a religious conflict, I was like, fuck that shit, because, like, if you believe in some religion, you would not stop killing each other. But I had that spirit all the time, back then. I really hated religion so much. So that's why when it happened to like conflict between Buddhist and Muslim, I was like, I don't care. That was my past kind of attitude, at the time. But then I saw some news and articles from Western media about how Rohingya people were crushed and also discriminated badly and treated badly, and how Myanmar society was cruel to them. And I was confused. Of course, I have friends also, but that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the conversation about like talking these things, because before, Myanmar society was not open to talk about sensitive issues, any sensitive issues. I mean, right. we could not talk openly and freely. So it was, I think, this openness began around 2012 something. So that's when the conflict started to happen, and it was the beginning of like talking things openly and disagreeing things openly. And yeah, that was the beginning of all the shit started to happen. So yeah, of course, yeah, I got access to the Western media, but then it made me think, and it made me want to know more. So that's why I decided to go there and learn by myself. At the time, my friends were talking shit about me on my back, like who were working in the NGO world. They were talking shit about me because like Darko went there and worked with these people because he got paid by the this. Yeah, he got funded by these Westerners and Western NGOs and INGOs.
And how long were you there for?
The first time it was only 3 weeks.
And you went several times?
Yeah, yes, I went back there several times after that.
So, when you're talking about this girl who wants to be a doctor and can't, of course, that is really tragic for her and her family. But on a societal level, it also is not something that really helps a functioning society. There have been discriminatory civilizations and countries all throughout time, whether they're discriminated against women or Jews or blacks or whoever the case may be. And basically you're closing entire occupations, whether they're teachers or doctors or whatever. You're closing that down from a whole sector of society that could be going there and teaching and saving lives and doing all kinds of things, because you just are not allowing them access into the economy and profession. And so that's not just, it's important to note, that's not just harming the individual that wants to have a career path. That's also not a very good plan for a society that wants to have qualified people in positions for what it needs to be able to function. And so in any case, you went there once for 3 weeks, you go there several times afterwards, and then you come back to Yangon, where I imagine it must have been like a different world, where you've seen these things with your own eyes, and everyone around you is still operating in the same kind of haze and fog of misinformation that's coming through somewhat verified news sources of local media. What were those conversations like when you came back? What did you try to talk to friends about? What did you try to tell them? How did those conversations go?
Yeah, I could not stop talking about them, to be honest, and I began to talk with more open-minded friends first, and I mean, even for them, it was quite hard to listen to what I said, because I went there, I saw with my own eyes, and I make friends there. And I mean, I was more like, I sounded like, me, come on, Rangers are real. They are not the others. They've been there forever, because, I saw them like wearing longies, wearing tanaka, because which is like very Burmese thing to do. I mean, I saw the way I saw Rohingya people. They are more Burmese than other Muslim people in other regions, other states in Myanmar. Because I don't know, they have different or special kind of tradition among Muslim society. I think they are a little bit more open minded, as far as I can see. They have tradition of like a kind of music too, because I mean, in Muslim society, like music is not, I mean, in the other part of Myanmar, and Muslim communities, like music is not embraced well. And but Rohingya has their own tradition of music and dance and other things. It was also like Rohingya food is amazing.
What is Rohingya food? Tell us about what you ate.
Yeah, I mean, we have a friend called Mount Chennai. So he's a very nice guy. So he invited us, me, the whole team, like the whole Turning Tables Myanmar team, to his house, to yeah, he made dinner for us. And I mean, he gave us, like, I mean, what do you call it? The dinner was very much similar to, like, French dinner, to be honest, because like he came with, I mean, he treated us very specially, and I felt really bad. I felt like I felt like kind of like uh, a white guy in a colonial age. It was like kind of like treated specially. I mean, I was not special. And but he treated us very special. I kind of like, it came with like a set of food. Like kind of like started with appetizer, and then like I'm sorry, it was a long time ago, and I can't tell exactly what I had, but it was very similar to Indian food, like he it came with roti and like chicken, and I mean, came with sets, like after one set, he took the, food, and then, like came back with another set. And then at the end was, like sweets, like kind of French dinner thing.
Right. So did you make some good friendships while over there?
Yes, with him, of course, and I also met a few young people. And yeah, like to share you one stupid thing that I did was, when I had a chat behind the fence, because like they were also afraid that, the police or the authority would see them, that they were talking with me. They were very cautious, but they really wanted to talk with me, just to like let me know the truth and stuff like that. So I was there with a group of young men behind the fence in their neighborhood. And then like they talked about how their life was and how they went through and everything, like doing the horrible raid that during the time, and how they survive and everything. And then I asked one stupid question. Called I asked a guy, like, I mean, no, I did not ask a guy. I actually asked them, like, what do you think that you will be doing in 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
And then like one guy said, bro, like, I don't even know what's gonna happen tomorrow. And how can I even think what I will be doing in 5 years? I don't even know what I'm gonna do next month or tomorrow. And he kept on saying that, I told my mother that, like, why did you like get me in this world, in this place? Like, why was I born here? And I don't know, it made me almost cry, because I had a moment, when I was 27 years old, and I had kind of like, a moment that I wanted to commit suicide, and it was a very dark time in me, and I didn't want to continue my life, and I almost jumped off my balcony of the 7th floor. And I, at the time, I even called my mom and said, Mom, I shouldn't have born. I mean, you should have, like, you should have made the abortion before I was born, or something like that. Like, I said terrible things to my mom, because I was ready to die. And it brought me back to that time. And I felt so ashamed, compared to his situation and my situation. I was born in Yangon. I had, I had privileges, and you know what I mean.
That's what I was going to say. Everything you're saying sounds like you're dealing with the truth and the reality that you have privilege. And my experience in both recognizing it, confronting it myself, as well as talking to others from very different societies, this is a really painful, difficult thing to do, to recognize the privilege that one has in the system, wherever the country is that you're talking about, wherever the society, to recognize that the system is not the same for others as it's for you, and to reconcile what that means and how to continue living and interacting with that knowledge and that truth. It's a really difficult thing to do.
Yeah, so that's why it after that trip, it changed me. Also, I had a friend. I brought to Butidang in to Rakhine State. He was with me with my team, and he was actually the project manager at the time. And actually, he was what do you call it? He had Islamophobia, to be honest. He had a thing with Muslim. I don't know that thing, but I believed in him, and I told him that not to do any stupid things and not to say any stupid things when I was there. And that we had a deal, and he was with me, but it changed his life too. I don't know. That's that moment that I that I remember is that, like, he at one night, like he told me, we slept in the same room. We shared this room at the hotel. That was not a hotel, there was no hotel in that town. It was a guest house, a bit dodgy guest house. But then, like, he told me at night, like he told me, like, that experience, like, one of the guy from the workshop, we went there to do the workshop, like to bring young people from different communities, to make music together, to learn music together, to play together, to sing together, like to talk, to have a dialogue where they could not meet in public, or where they could not meet, I don't know, where they could not do such things normally. So we facilitated those workshops. And yeah, during the workshop times, and one guy was like, he was, because I mean, my friend is like, he's a cool guy, I mean, he has long hair, and I don't know, I mean, he's a rock and roller, so he's a cool guy. And this kid, they never met this kind of guy from Yangon, and they look up to him. And one guy said, "Bro, I want to be like you." And then he was like, he was shocked to hear that, and he was like, "What the fuck, like I'm nobody. I mean, anyone can be like me." And he replied that, and that kid said, "No, not here, not me." And it broke his heart. And it literally changed him from like Muslim haters to Muslim sympathizer at all. So it's a life-changing experience. I'm so proud that we made that trip, and since then he's a different person at all.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really a beautiful and profound moment of confronting privilege. I mean, that is really the essence of privilege, that what I'm able to do, you cannot do because of where society puts you and what opportunities are available. So you reference how you went to these camps and it changed you. Your friend went to these camps, he had this experience and it changed him. And yet when you would then go back to Yangon, to your family, to your friends, to your work, to your community, and you would try to, for those people that you couldn't bring to Rakhine, you were trying to bring the reality of Rakhine to them through stories and videos and audio. I imagine you were trying to do this. How, for those that wouldn't come there, but actually you could talk to back in Yangon, how did that go over? How did they believe or interact with what you were trying to tell them?
It was hard, I could not change their perspectives. Of course, like, I was thankful that they could tolerate me talking too much about Rohingya people since then. And whenever I got the chance, I could like disagree with them, and like, trying to tell the different reality that I saw. And no, they are not the others. Like they were born in Myanmar. So which means that, like, they are part of us. It was kind of brutal truth to them to embrace, because of the mainstream narrative, I would say, all popular narrative or traditional narrative, that is like, we need to protect this country because we need to protect our Tayenda and every portion that we've been taught and we grew up with. So I believe, like, if people have more interaction with these other whatever they call it, the others or whatever, if there's enough interaction among each other, there will be more bridges and there will be less division.
Right. Yeah. So one of your songs you made recently was called Megtila, and Megtila is the name of a town in central Myanmar where there were some very serious riots involving Muslims there and a Buddhist crowd. Can you tell us a bit about what happened in Megtila and why you wanted to make a song about it and what you say in your song?
In Megtila, it was around 2012, I think. Yeah, it was. That was right after it happened It was right after the first conflict happened in Rakhine State. at first they name it as like the conflict is between the Muslim people who came from other country and the local Rakhine Buddhist people or local Buddhist people. That was the narrative, and then it similar conflict happened in Metila. So the Muslim communities in Metila are not others. They are Myanmar people there, but there was very severe conflict. It was infused by these radical monks, especially the one called Wiratu. Back then, I think he contacted all the whole thing, the whole this, Muslim hating campaigns. And it was, yeah, it really touched my soul. It was the time that I actually woke up, I think. And then I was really, really sad and I wanted to do something about it and I could not do anything about it. And then, yeah, just like the song is only about my release, of this, frustration, anger, and sadness. So the song is about, just telling them uh, um, who were who were involved in this violence and conflict, and also who were mentally involved. Mentally involved mean like even though they were not involved physically, but mentally they involved because they hated the Muslim, who were just like crushed and severely. But there was, I mean, their voices has not heard, I would say. It was more about like these Muslim communities are bad.
Right. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this song, Mektila. And that's a great song, but in addition to the music, the video is really something spectacular. I really encourage all the listeners to go and find Mektila by Side Effect on YouTube and see the video that accompanies this music. In the meantime, can you walk us through what the video depicts and why you chose to have these scenes in there?
Oh, that video is actually Mektila is one of the Side Effect songs, but that version is special version because I remake that song when I was in Malaysia with other artists from the region and also other artists from Germany and Australia. So that was a special edition. It was only with me and those friends. So
Right.
it was not technically side effects.
I
So
see.
I would have to say, because it was produced by a German music producer called C. So, and also it was performed by this um, Malaysian musician called Najwa with her beautiful vocal, and also Vendetta from Singapore. So I collaborated with them, and the video was like one of the project. I mean, one of the videos during the project called Transition Days, which was done by my organization, Turning Tables Myanmar.
Right. Thanks for that. So, can you describe for listeners that haven't seen the video what is depicted?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the music video. It was done. We used cinematic approach because still there. Like Transition. This was done last year. I think last year or no. Transition. This was the project that we did in 2019, and till there, till then, still it was still like it was hard to discuss these issues in public. So we used the like cinematic techniques to make a really really good and like heartwarming music video, and so that it could transcend other like it could transcend the barriers of people filters. People have like filters whether they want to receive this information or not. So it was about like we decided to make the video with the women, because women are the most what do you call it, women are the victims mainly, whenever the conflict happened. They did not started it. I mean, they never started a conflict, right? And then, but they are the people who suffer from these conflicts mainly. And also we use and also it is a strong figure to represent, what could happen. So it was like there was a nun, and there was a Muslim prayer, a woman prayer. So we got we were lucky to get access to one of the mosques. It was only one mosque that was open minded to let us in and make this film, and also that that mosque is like very unique, and like. So yeah, I mean, it's never been exposed like what is inside the mosque. You know what I mean? In Myanmar, I have never been inside the mosque too. I didn't know what that was like and inside and everything. So it was also a very good way to show what is inside. And it was the music video represent the two believers. One side from Buddhist and one Buddhist side, and one side from Muslim side. These two women, they believe their own faith, and like they suffer from the situation both. And I don't know, it was a metaphor of many things, and we try to bring positivity, and we try to bring hope to our society. Like yeah, we are human beings, and like maybe we can solve that.
Yeah, well, it's a really beautiful. I definitely encourage everyone to go and watch and listen to it. And you mentioned that part of the reason why you wanted to make that video and that song was to begin to introduce certain topics into conversations that were not really that comfortable in Myanmar society at the time. And you reference how before 2012, there was a certain kind of sensitivity in topics that people just did not go there. And then after 2012, there started to be a little bit of openness in how people could talk and what they could talk about. I'm curious to get your take on where you think that's at 2021. And I know that we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with the coup, and we'll get to the post-coup period later in the talk. But I'm curious about this part specifically, because I've noticed that there has been a marked difference after 2021, after, I should mention, after February 1st, after the coup, in terms of what people are comfortable saying, what conversations they're able to have. And it really seems like the top has just blown off, and people are now just comfortable in ways they've never been in what I know of Myanmar society, both in person as well as online, and the profiles to really just talk about a lot of subjects that were taboo or considered unconventional, or to not really engage with in a direct way. And so based on what you saw of this opening in 2012 and gradually through the years following that, from February 1st, what have you seen in terms of conversations being allowed to happen in various sectors of Myanmar society?
Yeah, it opened everything up, I think, because people realize, there's no worse thing than the Myanmar military and the coup. So people began to realize, now is the time, because now or never, I think we have this feeling, now or never kind of feeling, now or never, if we are not talking about this, like when. But there's still I'm not sure if you noticed that there's still, like whenever Rohingya issue was brought up, like people begin to think, oh, now, like, can we talk about this later? Kind of attitude, and then I don't know. And one interesting thing was, like, I hope it's not true, Rohingya issue was brought up when Myanmar society was hopeful for R2B from the UN, because I think like many of us think it was the only chance that UN can come in and and bring this Myanmar military down with their peacekeepers troops, which is not going to happen. And I think that's when people began to tolerate. That's one thing, and the other thing was, like, when we were hit by this what do you call it, atrocity right in front of our eyes, and people woke up, like all these stories that they did not believe it could have been the truth. That was the first thing, I think. So they began to talk about all these, like, minorities issues and all these, like, genocide again. I mean, the war genocide was the taboo war too, before coup. It was the big issues where, like, among people who believe the genocide or not, because Aung San Suu Kyi defended Myanmar military, with the, this genocide thing at the ICJ. So, like, the whole country believes that shit, and the whole country believes that there was no genocide in Myanmar and all the shit, So, but then after coup, people began to talk about it again, and it opened up a lot of conversations, and it's still going on. And I really hope, Myanmar society won't be segregated again. It's already been a little bit, it's already been, segregated a lot, and it's been into pieces. But still, I really hope, this coup will bring people together somehow to be more united.
I want to go back to what you were talking about earlier in the discussion about your Buddhist practice. You mentioned that briefly, and then we went on to talk more about your experiences in Rakhine, and very important topic to understand your interaction there and what was going on. But I want to bring it back to your meditation experience, and where we left off. You had talked about growing up in a traditional Burmese Buddhist family and being a non-conventional type that liked punk music and didn't really have a thing for organized religion, so it never, and the kuthul, akuthul, or for listeners who don't know Burmese and know more the Pali, the kusala and akusala actions, that wasn't really what you were looking for in practice. And so you drifted away, became perhaps atheist or agnostic, but then found your way back into meditation and Buddhist meditation. Can you tell us a bit about that journey?
Yeah. Yeah, that was right after, 2015, I would say, after 2015, it questioned my, my tradition. And, I was never religious, but still, whenever I came to Buddhism, or whenever I was thinking ahead, I don't know. Okay, let me rephrase that. After 2015, after I had that experience, and I questioned my own society, my own community, like that I was born with. This Buddhist community, they all are nice people. They follow Buddhist instructions, and Buddha's instructions and Buddha's recommendations of kusala and akusala and everything. They practice good merit and everything. They would say good deeds, what is bad deeds and everything. But when it comes to Rohingya issue, everyone wants nuts, and everyone became like bad people, and they don't even see themselves as bad people. They think they are the defender of the Buddhism. And they're like, no, I mean, they have the right to hate those people because these Muslims are naturally bad people, kind of, perceptions. I can't believe it. And I don't know how to, debate with them or how to argue with them. I'm so sick and tired of those conversations. And whenever I was talking with some people, and then they would say oh no, and that's not the real Buddhism. The real Buddhism is this and that. So I was sick and tired of being asked who are you to say what is right or wrong? The Buddha said this, the Buddha said that. And then those Muslim hating campaign was led by this high ranked Buddhist monks in Myanmar. So I was it pulled the trigger for me, and I was I just wanted to, I did not want to be in the same group with them. That was the first thing. So I needed to let go of my religion, and I denounced Buddhism, I would say traditional Buddhism, but actually what I understood about Buddhism in the core was it's not following the rules. It's just going within, finding yourself, walking the path by yourself. It takes practice, I don't know, Buddha said many other things, but still, not listening to what he said is not actually the Buddhist way. So you need to find your own truth, go inside. You need to walk the path, and nobody walk the path. They just want to be the good person and just following the rules, and I'm the good person, I should be going to nirvana, or I should be getting the rewards in the next life. Fuck that shit. Sorry. Excuse my French, but I was so tired of it, and then I just let go of it. And then I started, and then that's when, even just after just 1 or 2 weeks later, and then I started to sit and meditate. And I was, because I started with for my stress relief. It was very much 10 minutes. I started with very 10 minutes, guided meditation by the YouTube, some guided meditations. It got me through. And after that, I just liked the experience. And now,
so let me make sure I understand I have your story right. So you're saying that your experience in what happened in Rakhine and how organized Burmese Buddhists were responding to this so affected you that you wanted to drop out of the religion entirely. But in that process of dropping out, you then very soon, it sounds like, found a meditation practice. Is that correct?
I don't know. Yeah, kind of. It sounds very contradictory, right? But I did not see meditation as the Buddhist thing, because of meditation, Buddha did not invent meditation, to be honest. He used the techniques. He walked the path. And that's how he shared I mean, you can do it too. I don't know, I mean, for me, it's a kind of like it's actually ultimate rebellion. It's a like a kind of ultimate revolution inside. I would call it inner revolution. If you I don't know, you start a revolution of what you think who you are and what you think the world. Yeah.
So your dropping out of the Burmese Buddhist religion is what propelled you to begin a Buddhist meditation practice. Is that correct?
I would not call it Buddhist meditation. I
Okay, well, tell us about the meditation. Tell us about what kind of meditation you started doing and what you're doing now.
Okay. I started doing meditation with a kind of a brainwave entrainment because I started looking for the like how meditation can affect physically. First of all, physically, and why. So it's somehow it can help you release some like serotonin in your brain, and how it affects your stress relief, and everything started like that. And then I use this like brainwave, like kind of made. You can find them on YouTube, like brainwave entrainment. So that you put on headphone, and there's a certain frequency and certain these binaural beats. Binaural beats can affect your brainwave, to be exact. And then these brainwaves can be attained during meditation. So like if you heavily meditate, your brain would be in like kind of alpha state for the beginners. And then if you are like a serious meditator, you can attain this like a theta state, where your brainwave is very quiet and very low. Normal state, when we were speaking, we would have the beta state, beta state or brainwave. So I learned, studied this like little bit of it online, and I made a online research, and I began to meditate with these, like listening to these binaural beats. It's more physical, so it helped me calm, and it helped me focus, and it helped my decision-making process. So I started these things, and now I try different techniques like chakra meditation, which helped me a lot. And also I also like this jhana meditation. Jhana is mainly is a Sanskrit word for meditation. It doesn't say necessarily say vipassana or samatha or whatever that is. And I like also, I mean, right now what I really enjoy is like it was watching the thoughts. I don't know what to call it in Pali. It's watching
like the Chittanupassana.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, like vipassana meditator would argue with me, because that can be done by like, I don't know, highly intelligent people or something. In Myanmar, I would say. So
well, it sounds like the Shui Min tradition does that. The Shui Min tradition is part of one of the many things they do is to look at to observe the thinking, and the process of thinking is one of 6 sense doors. So when you're doing these practices, when you're observing the mind, and when you're doing jhana, as you mentioned, and samatha, who's your teacher in this? Are you reading the original text? Do you have some lineage or some Burmese teacher that's there, or how are you getting instruction?
To be honest, I don't have a specific teacher, but I follow Alan Watts. Yeah, and I follow like Sadhguru's meditations, guidance, and I follow some of Osho's meditation techniques and stuff like that. Right. So I did not learn from specific teachers in Myanmar yet. I mean, not properly. So I've been doing here and there, and I mean, the best meditation technique that I enjoy, like I told you, is just watching the mind, not judging it, because it doesn't teach. I mean, nobody taught me to sit like that, because I definitely enjoy the moment. There was no thought at all. It was only me, or I mean, sometimes I even lost myself, or the sense of the self. In in that moment, it was very, I mean, it was not, what was to say, it was beyond words. I think, I can't explain it very well, but still, there was no thought at all. And you lost the sense of yourself, meaning like, there's no ego or the self. And there's something as you feel like, I mean, you are something as like, beyond mind and body or something like that. I don't know. There's maybe it's just the consciousness or something else I can't explain. But at that moment, I mean, sometimes you feel like it's only 5 minutes, but then it like 30 minutes gone, you know. So I left to stay there right now.
Right. So with your interest in jhanas, I guess you never went to PAOK or never learned the PAOK method, because that seems like it'd be something that would be very similar to what your interest was.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Do you know about PAOK?
Yeah. I know about power, because maybe I was against too much traditional stuff and too much, I mean, whatever Burmese people believe in, I was so against it. So maybe I was too rebel. Maybe I think it's a good thing to learn. I mean, relearn them from a different perspectives, because you know what I mean, for me it was like, being grew up as a Burmese Burmese boy and Burmese man, it was like, it was something that you need to believe in. So whenever you are learning that, you already like, you are getting there to believe. So I don't want to be trapped in that, because I mean, the way now I practice this is like, I don't need to believe anything. So which is why I really enjoy this meditation process, because I do not need to believe anything. So I'm just exploring, and then no judging at all, and I'm just observing, or like I don't know what's happening during that time, I mean, what is changing inside me. I mean, I began to notice that I've been constantly changing, actually.
And I think that's something that's so interesting about the difference between Myanmar and Western society, is that in Myanmar society, the act of doing Burmese Buddhist meditation is kind of the apex of the orthodox and the traditional and the conventional way to show your involvement in the religion. Whereas in the West, it's completely the opposite. To do meditation is somewhat of a rejection of normal, functioning, conventional Western society. It's kind of the weirdest and most rebellious and different thing that you could do, to walk away from so many of the expectations of business and education and culture and certainly religion, and to just sit and practice this. And so this has been one of the most interesting things that I found in my own journey to Myanmar, through my own experience of coming so many years ago and then watching so many others come. Is there's like, the many of the Western practitioners who come here and are doing meditation end up forming very instant, deep friendships with many of the Burmese Buddhists, because they're doing the same thing and they're on the same path and they have the same objectives. So on surface level, even at deep level, it seems like there's so much that's in common. But when you get to go a little further, you see that the act of meditation as performed by many Burmese Buddhists in Myanmar is kind of a confirmation or affirmation of their religious, conventional, orthodox practice. Whereas for the foreigners, it's exactly the opposite of that. It's something that, even though the goal and the reasons for practicing are very similar, if not the same, the thing that's driving them to that is something of a rejection of their own society and their way to like think outside the box and to want to be independent and creative and individual. And so where there's so much common ground on this one act, when you pull away from that act and you start talking about, from people from both backgrounds, societies start talking about other things, there's actually tends to be not as much in common as you initially expect, because this bonding experience of meditation to seek liberation and follow these crucial aspects of the Buddhist teachings, as similar as they are, the reason for coming to them are often directly opposite. And that's not a bad thing that they're opposite. That doesn't mean you can't make friends and learn and find many things in common. It just means that it's not quite as similar as it seems when that initial encounter happens. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you for bringing that up. Because nobody that deep yet, because I mean, when you see it, because I don't want to talk bad thing about them. I mean, it's fine that whatever they believe in, I don't have any problem with that. But the problem is that when they told me to believe the same thing, it really pissed me off. But now I am getting better at coping with that, because because I'm a very angry person, so this anger has been killing me and all the time, and I can be angry my whole life. So now I'm 40 years old, and I really want to become, I mean, it's fine that they believe in whatever they want to believe, and that's why it definitely free me when I just let go of my entity as a Buddhist, because now I can love anyone, from Muslim community or whatever. I can love every human being, whoever I want, but I don't need to protect any religion or religious group. I don't belong to any religious group, so I don't need to stand for them. I just I don't want to be in any social groups anymore. I also want to denounce being a Burmese too, but I don't know how to. I'm a global citizen, and I'm just I'm just one species called human. So I mean, how can we transcend all these classification by the human beings? And I mean, the best thing that I can do is to sit quietly and focus on my breath, and also trying to live in that moment, rejecting or not even rejecting. I just need to unlearn about myself. I mean, I am not the one that I'm told. I am not. I mean, things are not as I was taught, actually. And so to unlearn everything that I was taught, I was programmed, which is a big journey. I mean, it's a long journey to go there, and also to look at life again, life and the world, like I don't know anything. Just to watch what is happening without judging, which is good or bad. I mean, I was very good at it before the coup too. I mean, the coup question that thing again. Like now, I mean, now, am I seeing good or bad? You know what I mean? It really, really challenged me and challenged my state of mind again, because I mean, coup is definitely a bad thing, and now this savages has been killing a lot of innocent people in Myanmar, and I can just watch these horrible things without judging. It's really, really, it's very challenging for me to.
So yeah, let's go there. Let's talk about how your meditation practice has fit in after the coup. You mentioned how your meditation practice, where it fit with when you went to Rakhine and your experiences there, with your depression, with your music, with when it became more of a serious practice in normal times. But then looking in the era after the coup, what has your meditation been doing for you? What have been the challenges? What's been the insights? How's your practice been?
Yeah, it's really challenged my meditation with non-judgmental observation. I would say, observation of the events and happenings, and I've been focusing on that, because it was really hard thing to do, not to judge a situation which is good not bad, because I believe nothing is good nor bad. It is what it is, whether even if we like it or not. But with that philosophy, or with that way of looking at the war, and what I'm actually feeling is different. What I'm feeling is what I'm feeling. That was nothing is good nor bad. It's a statement, or the way that I want to look at it. But what I'm actually feeling is, I feel like sorry. I feel really sad, and I want to do something to protect protect innocent people, to protect people from being what do you call it? brutally treated, and I wanted to do something about it. I mean, which is not a bad thing at all. Now I'm talking about good and bad, right? So it's quite contradictory, and it's very weird situation. And before coup happened, I thought, I got to a point where I can look at, because like these things have been happening, since the beginning of time. I think, at least since the beginning of human existence. I mean, human has been killing each other for centuries, since the beginning. Whenever we feel like the others are taking our stuff, or our, threatening us or something, maybe it's in our DNA. We want to kill others, whenever we feel threatened. And now we thought, I mean, that won't happen again, because our civilization is now so much more intelligent than before. Something it's an illusion. It's not true. I think human beings will keep killing each other until the end of the time. Sorry if I sound very negative right now here. Maybe it's a nature of things. I don't know. So it really questioned my way of looking at it. But I mean, what helps me during this time? But I keep doing that. I keep meditating, even though I feel weird, because it helps me, because at least I don't judge my thoughts.
Right.
So it really helps my mental health, and also my system too. Because now during COVID, meditation can boost your immune system physically. So I keep doing that. And yeah, for my mental health and for my physical health too, it really helps.
Right. And so you mentioned how your meditation has been a support for you during these really hard days after the coup. As far as safe to share, can you tell us what you've been doing or how you've been supporting the people since the February 1st coup?
I mean, I'm a musician, and I believe in this creative intervention. So what I did with through this creative activism, and also bringing the motivation to the protesters, and also to the resistance, and also to keep the revolution going. So right now, the current vibe or current state of mind among Myanmar youth is very, it's very, what do you call it, gloomy. It's very gloomy right now, because I know it's been longer than they thought, and things are getting worse and worse, and many young people are depressed, and they lost hope. And what I've been doing is like as much as I can, bring some motivation to them, and bring some positivity, but not the COVID positive, but the positivity to them. And I've been secretly doing that, and I can share that information with you because of my team safety. And by the way, I closed my organization Alternatives Myanmar to keep my team safe, and we stopped working, and we are just like laying low right now and thinking what to do next. But I've been just like doing things with my fellow musicians and other artists, like working with poets and other things.
So like, have you made new music for the protests, or what have you been doing exactly creatively?
Creatively, I could not write any music, frankly speaking, and it was not very long ago that I could listen to music again, because I mean, since February, and I could not. I mean, it was really, really terrible experience for musicians. When I could not listen to a song, the whole song. I mean, I could play a song like for a minute, and then I would feel weird or I would feel guilty of
Mm-hmm.
listening to a song, music, or trying to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would stop and I would do something else. I mean, I would do everything at the same time, like talking with many people, mostly
Mm-hmm.
communicating, communicating, and also trying to help what they are needed. I mean, during the protest, I mean, I could be more helpful during the protest because there would be people needing this and that. So I would just like donate money, or I would provide facilities, for their protest. But now it's more complicated, and by the way, I don't believe in this like armed, conflict. So it's very hard for me to help people too. I think most people want to fight back with these weapons and armed resistance, which I do not disagree with, but still, it's for me, it's really hard to get involved in this armed.
So what do you believe in? If you don't think that that is the route for victory in your estimation, what do you think needs to happen for the people to win?
To be honest, I don't believe in anything right now. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I don't to be honest. I don't know what we
Mm-hmm.
can do. I have no idea. So that's why I don't disagree with them, because
Mm-hmm.
they are at least doing what they believe in, and let's see where it leads to.
So it sounds like you're a little stuck with not exactly knowing what the direct route is and trying to meditate and to maybe help people on an individual level and still get a sense for what exactly would be most useful at this time.
Yes, but what I would like to focus is to bring people together, because
Mm,
now people are drifting away from each other again because of the situations are getting worse. It's natural. I think it's human nature, where we are stressed and where we are devastated, and then and then when human beings cannot fight back the authority or the dictators,
right.
we would probably begin to fight each other, and that is likely to happen sooner or later. And I would try to protect it from happening, which is less likely to be successful. But I mean, as
Hmm. And how are you doing that exactly? Because you mentioned you're not able to make music. So, in what ways are you trying to inspire or support the morale or support the people creatively if you're not able to do music yet?
creating platforms and creating channels. So now everybody is freaking out, and everybody is scared to be found that they are doing or they are voicing something, so everyone needs a little bit of protection. So I'm figuring out a way to do things without like being spotted, or without being tracked by the Burmese military or this SAC security forces, or so this is something that I've been focusing on. I think they need platform and channels to keep the revolution going, and to keep this resistance going, or to be united. To be
You,
united, to stay united is actually the most rebellion, like, because like
mm,
the military, Myanmar military's the most successful tactic, and maybe probably the only tactic is divide and rule, and it
right.
is likely to be working. And we need to change that. We need to change that. So that's why, like, yeah, not to be divided, and regardless of our differences, if we can be together and if we can stay united, I think we can win.
Yeah. So concerning this performance channel you're doing, I understand that it's not just you, it's many people that are involved, and you're all getting together and doing these really great and exciting and motivating pieces for the people and really to increase their morale. So let's play one of them here and get a sense of what you're talking about.
Militer di Myanmar dan Papua sama saja. Tak puas serang warga dan tak pula sayang nyawa kan tak pula saat malam yang berpulang akan datang. Lihat kepulan NASA pada di kumpulan narak masa yang tampak teratur. Berandek tangan berbaur, gerak nasib berangsur. Hutang dibayar langsung, palang tangan ke udara. Kepala tegak penuh harap, jalan tetap terbukakan ke yang tegar berusaha. Luar sangkar angkat jangkar, kami muak dengan mereka yang barbar. Kami sasar sampai dasar, api dalam rimba siap bakar. Mereka makar main kasar, militer naik pasar rebut altar. Kami bongkar sampai akar, rima pakar dari antar pembuat bar untuk Myanmar.
Yeah မြန်မာပြည်သူအားလုံးငရဲပြီးမှအသက်ရှင်တနေ့နေ့ကြဆုံးဒုက္ခိတဖြစ်သွားကြတဲ့ရဲဘော်တွေမင်းရှိမှမျက်မြင်ညဖက်မနဲ့လောင်းအိမ်မော်တီတက်ပြတဲ့အိမ်မဆိုးတွေဘယ်သူမှမမတ်ချင်ပြက်စင်ပြင်ခဏဆိုပေမဲ့တိုင်းပြည်ရဲ့ညတွေကသကောင်ထက်နဲ့ရင်တွေ့တကုံထက်တော့မြင်လိမ့်မယ်သူတို့တက်တဲ့အလောင်းတွေကိုထက်ရင်ရဲတွေကရိုက်နှက်ဂုံဆွဲကဖမ်းသွားတဲ့အကြောင်းသားတွေထုတ်ထဲမှာ2008ချေပြီးစုပ်ထဲလာခဲ့လမ်းပေါ်ကဒူတွေနဲ့အုပ်ထဲပါမြန်မာပြည်ကြောင်းအိမ်နဲ့မဖက်ခဲ့သလားတပီလုံးကလူခွေငတ်ခဲ့တာပြီးတော့မန္တလေးကစစ်တပ်ကအရှက်မဲ့ဆို9နှစ်သမီးလို့ရက်ဆက်စောတတ်တဲ့နေရာမြင်ရက်စရာမရှိခဲ့တဲ့ဇော်မြလင်းတောင်းကိုလည်းမျက်ရည်နဲ့ကြည့်ခဲ့ပြီးသွေးစာနေတဲ့တရိတ်ဆန်အာနာရီယူပြီးတော့ငါတို့ဘော secret လို့ပြီးကြီးဖက်စစ်တယ်မမှန်မအမောင်လင်းဖြူမဲ့ခွဲကြတွေးတော့ဖို့သိမရှိပြကြသွားတဲ့ဘွားတွေကဘသူ့မှအကျိုးမပြုလိုက်ရပဲအလဟတ်တ PC စစ်ဖက်နဲ့စောက်ဖောက်ကန်ကြောက်အမောင်ခစ်ကိုလဲပြန်လျှောက်73နှစ်သားလေးရဲ့နောက်စစ်ကိုဖောက်သွားတဲ့ nine devil am the dog
We are walking in the dark
တွေးတော့ဖို့သိမရှိ
It's the darkest time before the dawn We're broke, we're lost But we know this won't last forever Nowhere to turn back, nowhere to give up Nowhere to lose as we know this is the end Nothing can stop us now
Yeah
We will fight till the end
জাতি মাটি ভেটি মৰি গলো নে বেছি হাৰ ভঙা বিতে কিক মই শব্দৰে ঠেকেছো কলমটো মোৰ যেন হেমাৰ অন্তৰ শব্দ মোৰ কবিত্ব বেমাৰত মৰ জাতি জাগ্ৰতলে লোক খালি খট্টাৰ আকাশত দৌৰি ফুৰে খুব হেলিকপ্টাৰ ভাষণ দি শুনাই দিব মোক ফালি মন্দাৰ প্ৰকাণ্ড হাতুৰিৰে খুব খাবি 10 বাৰ পিছে কথা কোৱাৰ বাবে তোক দিব অস্কাৰ আমাৰ দেশৰ নেতা মানে গেলা আলু বস্তাৰ চাউল দাইল আলু পিয়াজ ইয়াত নহয় সস্তাৰ দুখীয়াবোৰ সহায় মন্ত্ৰী যে মনষ্টাৰ কুকুলা অসম আৰু কি দিম নিদৰ্শন বিকাশী সমাজে নহয় সুদৰ্শন সেহে আজি চুমিলাৰ দলে বলে ধৰ্ষণ খন মানিছে মোক খুজে কৰে গুলি বৰ্ষণ चुनाव प्रचार में तभी तो महंगा आलू बाजार में जिंदगी झन क्योंकि गरीब लाचार में तेरे तो फन ना हो पाई जब प्रचार में कोरोना काल में ये रैली निकाले जीता चुनाव अब जलेबी खाले नागरिकता कानून गधे की चाले हराम का खाके देख वैली विशाले गरीब क्यों मरते हैं भूखे रोज सड़कों पे नौकरी की तलाश में हर रोज तड़पों के रैपर्स मौन ये रैपर सब डरपोक है बब्बर शेर में बाकी सब खरगोश है जोन से हिलेगा नहीं दब दब के जिंदगी जीने का नहीं अच्छे दिन ढूंढो
Right, so that's one example. Can you share a bit about what goes into making these pieces, what the artists are looking for, what they're trying to create, as well as what kind of reaction they've been getting?
Actually, I like that kind of creative intervention. That's the best thing that we could do right now, rather than sitting back and being depressed. And it can also give hope to many other people. And also that sounds actually, it really like, give me the chills, and it get me motivated, and it gave me hope again. And I think it will work on the same way to other people. And that song is also, it was a, collaboration between the rappers from other countries too, So which made me think that this bad incident, this horrible thing actually trigger some of the, some of important collaboration between other, between people. So which mean it can reach to many other, people. It transcends the borders. And it can enlighten many other individuals across Southeast Asia.
Right. And for creative people that are listening to this, that are outside of Myanmar, what could they do? Whatever their creative background, whatever graffiti artist or rapper, poet, whatever their artistic ability, what could they be doing right now to support the morale of the people?
Yeah, if they could do their work. I mean, if they could create a piece of work, like for example, like if they can do a graffiti on their wall about like Myanmar situation, I mean, that would make Myanmar people feel like what do you call it? That would make Myanmar people feel supported. We are visible because now we feel like the whole world, they don't care about us. Like they are busy with their own things in life. Their own struggle. Of course, like everyone is struggle in their life, but still, like we are, going through like horrible situations, and like we feel like no one cares about us. So if you can do a graffiti or a poem, or or just like like visual, like a kind of like graphic design or digital poster or whatever they do, whenever we see something that people from the other side of the world is doing something, it gives a signal that like they care about us, like one individual care about us, and also it will make other people from their country curious about us. And like maybe like 10%, or I don't know how much percent, will be so curious about us, and they will start searching for our information. So we should be heard that way. They can create awareness. I mean, creating awareness is a great thing that they can do, and also write a song about it. If people listen to it, they would know about what is happening in Myanmar right now, and hopefully they will care about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's certainly hope that some artists listening take that up. I know there have been many artists at different levels who supported in different ways. And one thing I realized I forgot to ask you, because we've been kind of jumping around here and there with your story. Can you remind us what led you to form your band Side Effect? What year was that in, and what drove you to be interested in that?
We formed our band in 2004. At the time, it was because it was a lack of that kind of music. I would say it was quite interesting because there was no bands like Side Effect that I wanted to hear. So I never thought I would be a musician, or I would be singer, because of the this rock and roll police, or rock and roll police, or whatever call it. There's Myanmar standard is very much like severe, and there was
really,
I mean, Myanmar standard rock back then is very specific, and I really
tell us what it was. I think most listeners don't know what early 2000s Myanmar rock was, so tell us what the climate was then.
Okay, it was only basically 80s rock. It was most of the rock bands. Most of the rock bands were playing 80s rock. Like kind of 90% of music were cover songs, but we call them copy songs because
like what kind of songs were being copied?
Like mainly Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, and Scorpions, and Metallica, and stuff like that. And like some of so-called rock stars became famous with the cover songs of this like Danish pop band called Michael Lamps to Rock, which is like, I mean, Myanmar rock fans are really much they were into like this rock ballad, and also a heavy song too. There was the domination of 80 rock song back then, and there was no alternative. There was a few alternative bands, but they could not do very well because of the lack of consumer.
Right. I remember hearing that. I came to Myanmar in 2003 for the first time, and I remember constantly hearing this Burmese music and like, this song sounds really familiar, and then realizing it was a copy of something. And Avril Lavigne, I remember in the early 2000s, Avril Lavigne was huge in Myanmar, right?
yes. You remember the time? Yeah, yeah, very huge. And then there was like, covers of Green Days to like
Uh-huh.
mainly the cover songs are from like every popular songs in the West, like from the MTV or like people top 20s. So that would be the cover songs pool.
Right. And so this was not what you wanted to do. You wanted to listen to something different. So you made something different. So what were you looking for that you weren't finding, and what did you end up creating?
Yes, I was looking for freedom, actually, freedom through music, freedom to say whatever I wanted to say. So then I was really into grunge music back then, grunge and so-called alternative bands. And then like I was into 90s rock, so I listened to bands such as Soundgarden, yeah, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and all these like 90s band, like and then I got to know punk rock, and I went back to punk rock attitude and everything. So punk really influenced me, and grunge bands and punk band influenced me, because it was not mainly about the how how you can polish your song, or how you can make your song great, or the how beautifully you can play your solo or stuff like that, but mainly focus on about your voice. So since then I found a way to express myself. So it was more about being who we are, and trying to show the world who we are, and what I have in mind and what I want to say. But at that time, it was like you needed to hide a lot of your messages, so that my music back then was not understandable easily, because the main message was hidden so well. It made, what I mean, because at that time,
was that fun or annoying to have to hide it like that?
yeah, but still, I mean, you can feel it. The music is, it's actually it's a universal music, universal language. So it's not very lyrical. It's more about making noise, and I found a way to release my anger with the guitar, like heavily distorted guitar, and like fast-paced drums and screaming vocal. So that's how I could express myself well, and it made us feel good, and there were people who could relate to it. So that's how I started the band, and there was not many other bands like that back then, because everybody tried to sound like other people. Maybe some some also like new bands, such as like you were saying, like some bands were trying to sound like Avril Lavigne, or trying to sound like I don't know, Limp Bizkit, or like I don't know. I mean, trying to sound like other people are not my thing. So I found a way to blend in all my influences rather than trying to sound like others. So I just like do whatever we want to do, and it gave me freedom. I found my freedom in music, and whenever I was rehearsing and whenever I'm in the studio with the band, I found my freedom there.
That's great. And I think we talked sometime before the interview about some concert at the American Center that we were both at that influenced you. Can you remind me of the memory? I'm not quite clear on when that was.
Yeah, it was quite a lot of work. It was not like going to SoundCloud or Spotify and stream it. I mean, when I saw a photo or a picture of a band with the interesting look in the like a very old magazine, and then I would go to some music stores that we could duplicate the cassette tapes from the original that was imported from Thailand. But Western music was not censored back then, actually, because like there was not many people who would listen to this music. It was a bit conservative back then. So I mean, it was open. There was just nobody knew it. So whenever we found an interesting band in the magazines, and I would go to those music stores and give them my Maxell tape, or maybe TDK tape, and then let them duplicate it, and then I would have to go back there. Then after a week, believe it or not, after a week, it would take a week, and then I would go there and get the tape, and I will play at my home, and then I will share it with my friends, and then later, I would take that tape to a tea shop. Back then, during my teenager time, the tea shop tradition was big, and it was like going to a club, because we did not have any club back then. And then I would go to some tea shops who like where we can play this rock music and rock and roll, or like very heavy music. There are only a couple of tea shops in my neighborhood that was tolerate that kind of music. So I would go there with the whenever I got new tapes, and then that's where we hang out with friends. So I would stand in line. I mean, not stand in line. I would give my tapes to the tea shop owner, and then there would be a couple of other tapes. We would have the tape turns, and then they would play it. But if it's too rock and if it's too heavy, and then they would just play one or two songs, and they would give your tape back. So that was the kind of like rock and roll community thing. It's a t-shirt. That was a t-shirt, thing.
That's great. I mean, if we weren't in the middle of this crisis, it would just be great to have a whole conversation about the history and development of different music forms in Myanmar, because it sounds like you're one of the real OGs. You're one of the real old rockers out there that can track the beginning of some of the original music to all the development that's happened in the past 15 years or so afterwards.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
I mean, it'd be I'd love to. I think it'd be a good break for all of us with the current crisis we're all living through. Yeah. So tell us some more. Tell us a bit more about how, as you started the work that you were doing and you were trying to get out of this copycat thing, how the local music scene started to shift and change after that.
Sure. I mean, when we formed the band, it was in 2004. That Myanmar underground movement began in 2002, I would say. So after 2 years of that, I was inspired by a few bands such as Antibiotic and The Ants. The Ants was more popular and more acceptable to the audience, but Antibiotic was more underground and less acceptable to the audience back then. But I was they are my friends too, and I got inspired and we found the band. And after that, during that time, the way we rose up was like we needed to organize our own concerts, because no one would call us to play. And we had the band, the way we had the band was very low-key, because, I did not have my guitar, because I wrote songs with my acoustic guitar that I got from my father. And my drummer didn't have any drum set, and he learned how to play drums with the books. It was quite classic, because that was how every drummer learned to play back then, And I mean, when we went to a concert, I had my guitar picks, and the drummers has the sticks, and we did not have any guitars, and we shared the guitars that was rented by the organizer of the concert. So maybe if there was like 4 or 6 or 10 bands, we share the same guitars and we play the same amps.
Oh wow.
But we went there very excited with the songs in our heads and with the right passion in our hearts, and that's it. That was it. That was how we roll. And some of the years it was only 2 concerts the whole year. We had it was very tough time, but still, we would practice a lot. We were the band that practiced a lot, even though there was no concert. and because that's the way I learned it from the UK punk bands. Actually, because I read about them, and like punk rock is not about skill pretty much. It's more about the spirit and attitude. So they just like play it again and again and again until they master their own songs, and that's how I learned to play too. So we played the same songs again and again and again until we are so tight, and we became the tightest band in the scene, and also we are like there were not a lot of bands that survived from that time to until now. So we are very good at not giving up. We are very persistent, and not giving up is the spirit of rock and roll, I would say. But nowadays not many rock and roll bands do that, like they will split up after 2 years, right?
Yeah, so I think it'd be really great to listen to a sample of what some of that early music sounded like. So let's go ahead and listen to one track now. All right, so that gave something of an idea of how the sound was back then. What was it like for you listening to that, remembering your early style, contrasting with where you are now? And what were you trying to express in general at that early time in your young life in the band?
Yeah, as far as I can recall, back then, it was, the song is called Secret. It was actually, now I can totally relate to it. It gives me goosebumps right now because, at that time I wanted to talk about it, and then like it was like that was hidden because the whole thing, the whole thing happened. It was like it was the question about like who did that, who did this this whole thing to the country actually. But we did not. I did not write anything about the country. It was called secret, so and then the chorus goes like like you can ask me after all, I mean when you can come ask me after it's over or when it's over. You can come ask me when it's over. That was the main chorus thing because then I can tell you like who did that happen, who did this horrible thing or everything. So it was like very general, and it was very vague. Uh, it was very vague in terms of meaning. But now I can totally recall that I was young and I was scared to talk about the serious issue. It was about the military, actually. Everybody hated military back then, and nobody dared to talk about it. I was one of them too, and I was afraid that I could be arrested. I could be put to jail. So I was secretly trying to, express myself. So it made me feel good whenever I played that songs on stage. It made me feel good. Even though that like people did not get it, but still, I know what was it about. And now I also remember the time like around like 2015, 2016, 17, and when the political songs are not censored, and when we could express it. When I was doing things with Tentativist Myanmar, where we travel across Myanmar and like doing workshops to write music where they address the issues whenever they want to address them, stuff like that, and that's where we could do it. And then at some point I revisited to that song, and I was so ashamed that I was so secretive back then. I was so scared to talk about it. I was young, but then I was ashamed compared to the young people around like 20, 16, 17, where they are so courageous to like use hip hop music to address the issue directly with their strong walls and strong rhymes and everything. They could talk things openly. But back in 2004, I was like, I needed to hide it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I was thinking that as you were talking, that you were, even back then in 2004, you were taking a risk to try to express this criticism that you wanted of the military and of frustration of the society you were living in. And you, even though you hid it very deeply, and actually the song is called Secret, this is what you were expressing, which was even above and beyond what many of your peers were doing at the time. How would you contrast what you were doing as an artist, as a young artist at that time in 2004 or several years after in that period with how you're seeing Generation Z artists behaving today in 2021?
Yeah. So there was a very awkward moment with the communication with Gen Z with me, because now I'm in touch with like many younger generations of the musicians and according to my work, and they are very outgoing, very open, direct. And in the beginning, I try to tell them to be careful and to start, using their security measures when they are doing the protest, and also when they join the revolution. But they didn't get it, or maybe they saw me. Maybe they saw me in a different way, like maybe I was too scared or something like that. Maybe I was too cautious because nobody wanted to be careful with that, because like everybody was going out and doing shit and posting their involvement in the protest on Facebook and everything. So that was the quite difference, I would say. I'm not sure if that's what you were asking.
Yeah, just about the difference in vibe between one young artist 15, 20 years ago and one young artist today.
Yeah, but now I mean, if you are talking about after coup situation, now it's the different style. Before coup, it was more about like, yeah, I mean, you could talk about it, and then there was a divide between like cool and not cool because of the, severe censorship and self-censorship in our brains. So there was like part of the group, like there was one group who believed, like, like mixing or steering like political view and making art once again. And there was a small group of young artists or young people who are really radical and who wants to push the limits on what we can talk and what we cannot talk. And according to the Burmese culture, young people in general were, I mean, before the coup, actually, like because of our culture, because of Burmese conservative culture, young people's views and their young people's opinions were not acknowledged and taken seriously, taken into consideration or anything, like Burmese culture is very tough on young people and their opinions and their say, definitely. And so, like, I mean, no one really care about their opinion or whatever they say, no one cares. That's one part. And maybe because of that, like, they don't want to, try too hard expressing themselves. So they just want to, like some of them just want to be famous. So for us, it's like very hard to, for us, it was very hard to understand because like we were fighting so hard to have the chance to, speak our mind and to express our self. You know what I mean? So for them, like when they got the chance to say whatever they wanted, and like only a few exercise their rights, so we were pushing it too hard to, to use their right for freedom of expression. It was like, yeah, maybe, like Myanmar was like expanding this human rights territories, and we were fighting for it. So we were part of the game when we were trying to exercise our freedom of expressions through music and film and other channels.
Right. And in addition to music, you've also done activism throughout your time in the country. That Turning Tables. I know that Turning Tables is not functioning today, as many things are not, given the current crisis playing out. But can you share a bit about what this organization does and what your involvement in it is?
Turning Tables Myanmar brings people together through this creative activism. And we are also like, what we've been doing, what we were doing actually is like giving facilities to the young people who never got access to this like creative means, such as like traveling to, remote places and did the music workshops, gave them opportunity to, like write music together with other people and also record there on the site. Like, wherever we go, we brought this like, we brought recording suites and we would set up a temporary recording studio in the studio or at some of the, buildings that we could rent, or, we would just like let them write music and then we would let them record the next day, and we will put out a record, or we would release a record later. So we've been doing, this like our flagship project is called Voice of the Youth. Since 2015 and until COVID, since 2015 to 2019, we've been doing the like year-long project called the Voice of the Youth. So it includes like, conducting series of workshops and also releasing an album and a song contest called The Voice of the Youth, and also a music festival at the end of the year. So in every December, there will be a big music festival called The Voice of the Youth. So where we put on, sorry for my pop. So where we put on a lot of like young artists with a voice, so who can dare to say these things that where other people could not dare to say. And also we will expose like this like rising stars and stuff like that. So we've been doing a lot of things pushing the limits on freedom of expression since 2015.
That's really great. That's really an awesome way to give back, and looking at your own career coming from, this song Secret that we heard before, and how hard it was for you to be able to express yourself given the climate then and how things have changed, and that now you're in the position of something of an elder that is able to guide other people through this process and support them in all these ways. And that's really fantastic. And I really want to thank you for the time that you spent here. It was really great learning all this stuff and seeing how it all comes together with your music and your activism. And of course, now we're in the crisis. All of our best wishes are with you and with everything you're doing and how you're continuing to give back and to support. And certainly hope that creatives that are listening to this will be inspired as well. And before we leave, why don't you tell us what song of yours we'll be hearing for the outro
thanks for
as this episode comes to a
let me
close?
revisit again. Okay, yeah, thanks. I want to play this song called "We Be Alright." So I want to give some positivity. Myanmar has been going through the dark time, and I hope that we be alright in the end.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this show. I understand that this is an enormously difficult time for many people these days, myself included, and just the mere fact of staying informed is helping to keep a focus on this pertinent issue. And the only way that we can do our job of continuing to provide this content at this very critical time is through the support of generous donors, listeners like yourselves. So if you found this episode of value and would like to see more shows like this on the current crisis, please consider making a donation to support our efforts. Either monthly pledges or one-time donations are fully appreciated, and all funds go immediately to the production of more episodes like this one. Thank you deeply in advance, and best wishes at this time. If you would like to join in our mission to support those in Myanmar who are resisting the military coup, we welcome your contribution in any form, currency, or transfer method. Every cent goes immediately and directly to funding those local communities who need it most. Donations go to support such causes as the Civil Disobedience Movement, CDM, families of deceased victims, and the purchasing of protective equipment and medical supplies. Or if you prefer, you can earmark your donation to go directly to the guest you just heard on today's show. In order to facilitate this donation work, we have registered a new nonprofit called Better Burma for this express purpose. Any donation you give on our Insight Myanmar website is now directed to this fund. Alternatively, you can visit our new Better Burma website, which is betterburma.org, and donate directly there. In either case, your donation goes to the same cause, and both websites accept credit cards. You can also give via PayPal by going to paypal.me/betterburma. Additionally, we can take donations through Patreon, Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App. Simply search Better Burma on each platform and you'll find our account. You can also visit either website for specific links to those respective accounts, or email us at info@betterburma.org. In all cases, that's Better Burma, one word, spelled BETTERBURMA. If you would like to give in another way, please contact us. Thank you so much for your kind consideration.